Good morning, everyone, and welcome to IRSC News. My name is Alexa, and our story today is about the accuracy of eyewitness accounts. The definition of eyewitness is a person who actually sees some act, occurrence, or thing and can give a first-hand account of it. For example, a store owner who was held at gunpoint and robbed. The store owner would be an eyewitness to the store robbery. What we are examining today is if those eyewitness accounts are accurate enough to convict someone of a crime. In an article titled International Journal of Law and Psychiatry, Charles A. Morgan III did a study to see the accuracy of eyewitnesses when exposed to high and low stress levels. The study used 509 participants that were enrolled in the military survival school training. This study would put all the participants in the most realistic wilderness evasion and then later mock captivity. All participants would have low and high interrogation. The high interrogation was the use of physical confrontation, while the low-stress interrogation used no physical confrontation. The participants were broken down into 4 studies. The first study had 228 participants, but 188 of them were interrogated by 2 instructors, while the other 40 interrogated by 1 instructor in their high-stress interrogation, but had 2 instructors for the low-stress interrogations. In Study 2, 114 participants were interrogated by 2 instructors. Study 3 and 4 were both interrogated by 1 instructor. The studies with 2 instructors had 1 instructor be the one asking questions while the other instructor would use physical confrontation. In the studies with 1 instructor, that instructor would play both roles. In each study, low and high stress interrogation was done by different instructors a day after being interrogated. The participants in Study 1 and 2 were told to choose who was their interrogator for both interrogations and from 1 to 10 write down their confidence level on their choices. Study 1 had 15 instructors stand up together in a lineup, and the participants were allowed to walk up and get a close eye on the instructor. These participants were told that some instructors in the lineup were not in the interrogation rooms, while some that were in the interrogation rooms were not in the lineup. All the instructors wore their regular uniforms instead of the BDUs, which is their battle dress uniforms, that were worn during the interrogations. Study 2 identifies their instructors by photos. All the instructors wore their BDUs in their photos. The participant in Studies 3 and 4 had a different task. They supply eyewitness data. Both groups had to identify if the instructors were in high or low stress interrogation depending on which study they were in. Part of Study 3 and 4 saw the 16 photos with the instructors wearing the exact uniform used for the interrogation. The other half of 3 and 4 participants saw the 16 photos with the instructors wearing their BDUs. The results showed in the live lineup condition only 11% were accurate in their eyewitness identification. Of the 39 subjects in the photo spread condition whose eyewitness accuracy scores were the same for both stress conditions, only 16% were accurate. With the eyewitness study, the participants with the high stress interrogation had more participants guess the right instructor in the lineup and not in the line compared to others. The low stress condition had more of the right instructors guessed that was not in the lineup. According to the article, it is possible that stress differentially affects the ability to recognize a suspect and the ability to describe events that occurred during stress. Join me in the field now as we ask members of the community their opinion on the topic. Have you ever given an eyewitness report before?
I have.
What was that like?
Very nerve-wracking.
Very nerve-wracking.
Cops, they intimidate me. So, they were asking me a lot of questions such as, what he looked like, what he say, and it was just throwing me off, honestly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been mistook for somebody else?
Yes, actually. It happens all the time, almost every day. People, they say I look just like my brother.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. After knowing these facts, does it change how you feel about eyewitness accounts?
To be completely honest, no. Always thought eyewitnesses were somewhat unreliable. So the facts that you have stated, totally agree with.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Tyler Jones, reporting in live from IRSC News. Today we have a couple of eyewitness accounts, very lovely people, and I agreed to sit with us to explain their concerns and opinions on the accuracy of eyewitness accounts. So hi, I'd like to thank you again here for joining us for this interview. May I please have your name?
Bert Ortiz.
Bert. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Bert. The whole point of this interview is to ask you about the eyewitness accuracy. So, by definition, just so you know, a person who actually sees some act or occurrence and could give testimony is an eyewitness account.
Okay.
So, my first question for you today is: have you ever been an eyewitness yourself, or been a part of that eyewitness account in a jury?
Of a jury? No, I can't. I've been called to jury duty, but I've never really been called to actually be in the jury. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good.
So far.
All right. Well, my next question for you is: have you ever been mistaken for somebody else, or vice versa?
I've mistaken other people for being friends or
Yeah.
someone that I thought that it was a friend, but myself, no, I can't say. I have people said that I look like somebody else, but not actually mistaken me for someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, it does happen. It's really interesting that you did say that you've never been mistaken with somebody else. I mean, that's I never heard that before. So that's actually pretty nice. You have your own authentic look.
It's weird.
Yeah. But I do want to go ahead and just give you this piece of information. It's from this website called innocenceproject.org. And I quote, "Eyewitness misidentification is a constant and outsized contribution to wrongfully convictions. Nationally, 69% of DNA exonerations, 252 out of 367 cases.
Yikes. It's a lot.
Yeah, have involved eyewitness misidentification. So with that piece of information, over half of these cases being misidentified, what is your opinion on eyewitness accounts?
I feel that nowadays with all the technology, it's good that we have, it's kind of like invading privacy, but it's good to have, like, when we have our cameras and things like that, that I can actually recognize whoever, if you're a witness, and actually, because you can't always go up by what people say all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the heat of the moment and stuff like that, we think that we saw somebody, it looks like somebody else, and it turns out it's not. And that's why these things happen, that, you end up with people in a situation where they get, blamed for other things that somebody else might have done.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that look like somebody else, so figure, like, if you can really recognize someone, and if you're really up that close that you know who they are, that's fine, but if you don't, making assumptions is not going to
Yeah.
be working towards
Yeah,
it.
we already know what they say about assuming, right?
Oh, yeah. No,
Well,
but it happens a lot. It happens a lot that people get mistaken for somebody else, and then they get blamed for, and they get put on trial and things like that
for something that they...
Yeah, and there's people that actually paid sentences that have long sentences for somebody else that they weren't at fault, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the last final thing, if you want to go ahead and put that input, where there's a problem, there's always got to be a solution, right? So, well, what would you suggest happens?
A solution for mistaken identities and things like that. Like I told you, like, now with technology and all that, we can actually use either cameras or now you have DNA samples for cases that are, you can actually prove something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's ways that you can actually, if there's places where you can actually take, like, well, we have fingerprinting and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the things that we should really look into, making
Most
sure
definitely.
that there's more security around, so that we know that not just go by hearsay, but because there's a lot of people like to blame people just for the sake of blaming something.
There's a lot of that going around. Yeah.
So, start saying that we all look like.
Well, you're absolutely right, man. And that's all the questions I have for you today. And I just thank you again for doing this interview. And
No, it's great.
Yeah,
I'm
but
glad
go-
you guys are doing this because it's good to make people aware of things that happen with, identifying people and making sure that it's the right person that they're actually getting
yeah,
into. So
yeah, and it's just. So, hi. Thank you again for doing this interview. May I please have your name?
Bernice Medina.
Bernice. Well, thank you again, Bernice, for sitting here doing this interview. Now, for the interview, it is about eyewitness accuracy and basically your opinion on it. Now, if you don't know already, but the eyewitness account definition is a person who actually sees some act or occurrence and could give their testimony. So, based off of that, have you ever given an eyewitness report before? And if so, please explain it.
No, I haven't given an eyewitness before.
Okay, all right. So, have you ever been mistaken for somebody or mistaken somebody else?
I've been mistaken.
For somebody else?
Yeah.
Does it happen often?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
My sister and I look alike.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just off that, I want to let you know that because of you can see how people mistake other people for different other people. All right.
Yes.
So I just want to go ahead and give you some information off the website innocenceproject.org. I quote, "Eyewitness misidentification is a constant and outsized contributor to wrongful convictions. Nationally, 69% of DNA involved eyewitness misidentification, making it a leading contributing cause of wrongful convictions." So, based on that information, you saw that 257 people out of 367. That's more than half, right? So, based on that information, what do you think about eyewitness accuracy?
That it's not very accurate.
Obviously, right? A lot of numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It sounds like they have better luck with DNA tests than eyewitness because it can be mistaken very easily.
Yeah, and that was the young gentleman that he was explaining to us himself that, the DNA and then the cameras and stuff like that, it really does help with identifying a person, the right person.
Absolutely.
That,
Yeah, any video surveillance because you can't really go off of another person's opinion. What you see might be different than what I see, and even if we're looking at the same, it can be a thing, not even a person. So, yeah, everybody has different opinions, and you shouldn't go off solely on eyewitness.
Solely on eyewitness. Okay. Well, that's all we have for you today. If you would like to, where there's a problem, there is a solution. So do you think of any solutions, like, let's say if there was no cameras at that time, would it be a good approach to use that eyewitness?
It's difficult to say, but I wouldn't go solely on an eyewitness. And that's why the mistakes happen like that. And I'm not sure what other options there would be. Can't think of the top of my head other than the camera. Sometimes cell phones. The cell phone carriers, you can track the person that way to see if they were at this location at the time. But I would look for other information other than just the eyewitness, because you can convict the wrong person.
No, we don't want that.
No.
We don't want that,
not.
because it could be one of us one of these days.
Absolutely.
That amount of times people mistaking you, right?
Yes, many. They
Well,
asked me about my
thank you.
sister, so I'm like, no, it's not me. They're like, oh, you're not working at this place today. I said, oh, no, that's not me. That's my sister.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens pretty often, right? Well, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us here today, and thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Gabriela Borges, and to continue on our topic, we have another article titled How Variations in Distance Affect Eyewitness Reports and Identification Accuracy by RCL Lindsay. Lindsay describes how eyewitness reporting can be skewed by the amount of distance between the eyewitness and the scene of an incident. In the experiment, over 1,300 random participants were approached during the normal daily routine and activities and asked to observe a target from one distance out of a variety of possible distances. Participants were asked a series of questions about the target in the form of a questionnaire. They were also asked to provide estimates of the minimum and maximum distance they believe the target could have been from them. After the questionnaire, they were asked to describe the target on the back of the paper and were then shown a lineup and instructed to circle one response.
These responses were made immediately after viewing or from memory of up to 48 hours after viewing. The researchers found that the eyewitness accounts are less accurate the farther away a subject is. In a series of data, the tables show that it is harder to perceive the characteristics of a person the farther you are away from them. The tables also show that it is harder to determine the age of a subject than it is to determine the height or weight. To conclude our story, we are aware that eyewitness reporting has its benefits. But from what we've explored in these 2 articles and our community response, it is easy to say that our community and our researchers believe that more data is needed in the event of prosecution than just eyewitness reporting alone. Thank you.